So diesel shortages are happening. What is this going to do to consumer price inflation, and what exactly is happening? Plus, why is the mainstream media not even reporting on this? So first of all, let's show exactly that. So if I walk you over here, and I've Googled here in the news section, diesel shortage, and you can see there are some articles on this, but they are few and far between. None of them are coming from Canada actually at all, which is interesting because when you consider that if there is a diesel shortage in the US, that will massively impact Canada. It's kind of weird that that isn't even being discussed in the media here, and why are they trying to keep everybody in the dark? So why the US has a diesel shortage. So let's see what they're saying, and then I'm going to show you a couple of things and then explain what you can do to kind of help support yourself and your family. So basically, if we head across here, last week, the Energy Information Administration, EIA, reported that distillate inventories were at their lowest level since 2008. The primary distillates are diesel, jet fuel, and heating oil. I saw somebody in the chat there was saying about jet fuel, so there you go. And, you know, once again, that number, 2008, yeah, that was really good time the year after that. So, you know, I think that kind of shows you where we're at right now. But this is causing massive problems across the economy because diesel is used for everything. It's used for transportation on ships. It's used for trucking. It's used for diesel generators at factories and plants. And it is just absolutely insane that we are having this issue. And this issue is really happening as a result of refining capacity. A lot of refineries shut down over 2020 and 2021. And because of the Agenda 2030, there just isn't an incentive for people to invest in bringing extra refineries online. And as we've already seen, as soon as the Biden administration got in charge, they basically canceled the Keystone pipeline. Now, that's really interesting because, you know, just to quickly explain to you, the US produces a lot of light, sweet crude, which you cannot get these distillates out of very easily or even at all. And Canada actually produces a lot of the heavy sour crude, which is used to create these distillates. So they actually need that oil. But even if we could give it to them down the Keystone pipeline, there's nowhere to refine it. So there's a bigger picture story going on than just, oh yeah, it's just the pipeline. But that kind of action that President Biden took sent a signal to everybody that, hey, what's the point in investing in this? And, you know, I obviously believe that climate change does exist in some form or another. And, you know, it is very interesting, I think, how governments are kind of just basically shooting themselves in the foot, because even if you do believe that climate change really exists, then you know that you still need the energy, you still need the natural gas, you still need the oil, everything like that. So it just kind of, it's unbelievable what is happening. So this came out July 17th, and this really shows where, what has basically happened. So the world can't get enough of US diesel as exports surge. So they've exported a lot, and it basically says the bulk of US diesel exports are headed to Mexico, Brazil, Chile, Argentina. Fuel crises have been unfolding in parts of Latin America, leading to violent protests and political upheaval. These countries have pulled a greater amount of diesel from the US Gulf Coast in recent months. In addition to Latin America, the arbitrage for transatlantic diesel exports has also improved, with a stronger European market and a drop in freight rates spurring more shipments from the US Gulf Coast to Europe. So basically, the reason that they're in this crisis, which nobody's discussing, is because a lot of that diesel has been exported, which is fine, you know, because a lot of the products that Americans and Canadians consume are coming from places like Mexico and Latin America. So they need the diesel in order to produce the products that then we buy. This is how the global supply chain works. And what is really interesting is the European part of this, the European part in the equation, because basically when you really dig into the nitty gritty, part of the reason why this is happening is because Russia was a big exporter of distillates like diesel and everything like that. They were huge. I think they were the second largest in the world. So you take that away from Europe, you take that away even from the US, and that creates a hole, and nobody is filling that hole. Now, this becomes a problem of national security because Biden has been draining this strategic petroleum reserve, which is full of this heavy sour crude, which is needed to create these distillates. And essentially they're now running low on all the diesel and distillate supplies. So that puts them in a very precarious place from a standpoint of national security and national security of the world. Because really, America just holds the power right now. They hold the torch in being the strongest economy, the strongest military. And essentially, if you don't have the diesel for all your military equipment, it leaves you very, very vulnerable. So I think that is a particular point. So essentially, they're going to have to obviously pull these exports away from somewhere else. And that's exactly what it says that they're doing in this article right here. So I'm just going to show you now what's happening. And essentially, Bloomberg TV on Wednesday said the US has now 25 days left of diesel supply, its lowest level since 2008. Now, for a lot of people who are saying, Luke, you're just fear-mongering, everything's going to be okay. Oh, really? Well, look at the diesel prices right now on the East Coast. We're already seeing the pinch of what is happening here. So to just say, this isn't a problem, don't worry about it, is just totally ridiculous, in my opinion. And a lot of the reason why this isn't being covered very much is because of the midterm elections that are happening right now in the US. But this is incredibly important to the global economy, what is happening. And essentially, being at that low level, having 25 days worth of supply left is just not a good sign, right? So the price of diesel in the US has been surging due to inventories at very low levels and limited availability to improve supply. And this is really interesting. So listen closely here. The US is set to receive at least 2 ships carrying a total of some 90,000 metric tons of diesel and jet fuel that have been diverted from their original destinations in Europe to the East Coast, as reported by Reuters on October 14th. The diesel is arriving from the UAE. So isn't that really interesting? So basically, you're just moving the problem. So yeah, these ships, they were heading to Europe to supply Europe with all these distillates because of all the sanctions that Europe and the United States have put in place. The United States is now diverting those ships away from Europe to the East Coast of the United States because they're now in trouble. And basically, it is just a complete mess. I mean, anybody who says this is just ridiculous, absolutely insane that we're in 2022, guys, and this is happening. It just blows my mind to think that we're living in 2022 right now and we have these central planners who just do not think things through. I mean, think about it. Did sanctioning Russian diesel, sanctioning Russian distillates and everything like that, was that a good thing for national security? Did that put the US on a better footing going into potentially World War III, which it seems like they're trying to start, poking that bear? Does it put them in a good place? No, it doesn't. It puts them in a worse place. It puts them at a disadvantage. I mean, the diplomacy here, a freaking 7-year-old child could have better diplomacy than these people who are in charge right now. I mean, it just blows my mind. We've just got such clowns in charge across. We got Rishi the banker, we've got Trudeau, absolute lunatic, and we've got Biden, who is like half asleep, as Greg Manarino likes to call him, Frankenstein. But yeah, it's just kind of absolutely insane. So this is the EIA, and this is actually the inventory data. So I want to show you, this is straight from the US Energy Information Administration. So you can basically see where we're at right now. But what's really interesting, and it's also worth noting that the data gets updated tomorrow. So depending on what that comes out, I'll obviously tweet it tomorrow. You can follow me at Twitter at MarketMania.ca if you're interested in that. So basically, we're at this low right here. But what a lot of people don't understand is when you look at all these ups and downs and everything on this chart, you have the ups and downs because essentially you build the inventory going into winter and then it comes back down during winter. We're going into winter right now, and guess what? We're at like the lowest level since 2008. So better hope it's not a cold winter, and it looks like it is going to be a cold winter. I'm looking at long-term forecasts, which are really just a stab in the dark, let's face it. But it's about to get very, very cold here in the West over the next couple of weeks. And it's pretty early when you consider it's only just November right now. So it's quite insane. And you can see also from these charts on Zero Hedge where we really are. This goes all the way back to 2007. And you can see that we are lower than 2007. We're low, and it has been close to these lows before. So I guess we shouldn't worry too much to some degree. And I don't think, it's worth noting, I don't think we're going to run out or anything like that. But we could get to a situation where prices just rise to an insane level that pushes the cost of everything up, or get to a point where diesel is rationed, like natural gas is starting to be rationed in Europe. And then guess what happens? Well, it'll just be obviously essential services that then get that. Essential services like Walmart, McDonald's, Home Depot, Amazon, just to name a few, because those are the essential services. So we'll continue to monitor what goes on here, and I'm also going to be talking to you about what's going on with BlackRock. There's some incredibly interesting things that are going on there. So if you've enjoyed this, maybe check out that video, maybe check out that one that YouTube recommends over there. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Thanks for all the likes, comments, and subscribing. It's great to hear from you guys. What are you seeing? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.